I like to say shalom to all my Israelite brothers and sisters, those that are near and those that are far off. Our Israelite brothers and sisters that represent those that are far off, of them that still don't have a name to attach to the so-called Negro. Our Israelite brothers and sisters that are near, those are they that have come to understand that through this world system and biblical evidences is that the Negro do have a name. I'd like to say shalom on this morning. Shalom, King Jonathan. And I want to come over here with something specific because what I'm looking at in my own personal life is a pattern. It's a pattern that is taking place. It's a pattern that has transpired in this world that we're living in. All praises to the Most High. Thank you, the Most High. And bless the Most High for my big brother, Elder Milligan. And I'm looking at a pattern that is taking place. And this message is I would really like this message to stick with all brothers who have entered into a place of teaching or have a desire to teach somebody something. When we look on Facebook, we have many brothers that are, classified as teachers, mores, Koheens. We have the pastors in the Christian church, the bishops, the apostles. All of these people fall up under the guise of teaching. And I ain't never really classified myself as a teacher. I have just more or less been one that have wanted to share some of the things that the Spirit was teaching me or showing me in the Word. One of the things that I'm seeing and understanding as a pattern is that in the beginning, the early stages of a person that teach or a person that preach or a Kohen or somebody that's out front in that capacity, the early stages of their life, there are many people that are heaped to them. And there are many people that are pleased to walk with them. There are many people that rejoice at their gift or their craft in their early stages. But as time goes on, there is a great shift or something takes place. And eventually you see people fall away. They slowly begin to fall away. And then you see some friends turn enemies. And then, you see the person that used to be applauded by the people is now being cast off by the people. This is not something that's personal. I'm not talking about my personal life neither. I'm talking about just something that naturally happens when your feet get into a certain place. We know that happened to Yeshua HaMashiach. You see? When he first came on the scene and he was teaching and he was doing wonderful things, there were many people that were gathered to him. But as he began to teach the people and challenge the people and things of that nature, the people slowly started to turn, and many of those disciples that would have walked with him begin to turn away when they were challenged to do certain things. Like, I'll give you an example. Everybody couldn't accept the challenge that they had to leave. Drop your livelihood. Drop your livelihood and then come follow me. Forget about your job and come follow me. The average person right now, see, we do the scripture injustice because we don't make it applicable to the life that we're living in now. We want to stay in the scripture and then we think that we can live life off the dead words of dead men. Okay, I know you call it the scripture, but the scripture was given to men. And you think that you can live your life off the dead words of dead men, while the Most High in this world still has plenty of things living. When we know that his laws are written in everything that have breath. So, but this the point that I'm making is that is that we never take those words can never be transferred. Those dead words from our dead ancestors could never be translated from the desert into this world that we're living in right now. And so your understanding or your comprehension is only going to go so far. And this is the mindset of many people. Those that teach must first show themselves to be teachable. This is one of the greatest problems that we have too. Because the people that think that they teachers just because somebody came and stamped this title on them, now they know the grand sum total of the Most High's will, and they can't be taught anything. And anything that's unlike anything that they have seen or anything that's unfamiliar to them, they will instruct the people that are now under them to cast that off. You know why? Because they themselves have become unteachable. But I'm going to tell you the truth. Don't no man know the grand sum total of the Most High's will. And any man that put himself in that spot, he put himself in a dangerous place. From the time that I came out of the Christian church, the truths that I thought I knew have been getting busted down to the ground. When I thought I knew the grand sum total of the Most High's will, as related to kingdom building and as related to the work of Yeshua HaMashiach, and I only understood what was contained in the letters of Paul, please, those truths that I thought I know got smashed down to the ground when I came to understand that the Negro was Israel. When you came to understand that the only word that you had in your mouth was Jesus the Christ, and Jesus is my Lord and Savior, and believe in Jesus, and you held on dear to that. You thought you had the truth, but when you came to understand that his name was Yeshua HaMashiach, and that he didn't have blonde hair and blue eyes, the truth that you once knew was busted down and cast to the ground. That when you came to understand that you was an Israelite, and you started understanding all of the things that came with that, and you start looking at the forefathers, and the so-called law that you always classified to be holy and righteous and all of that was at the hands of dead men who were wicked, then you come to understand, wait a minute, it's something else. It's something else to go with this. Basically, what I'm saying is that there will always be new levels of learning. There will always be things that come to get put on top of truth, to either make you understand either the truth you thought was truth was a lie, or the truth that you knew as truth was not the grand sum total of it. And so it would go from one level to the next level. Howbeit, we have many of brothers who think that the truth that they have right now is the grand sum total of the Most High's truth. Never mind, even the Bible say that we shall go from faith to faith and from glory to glory. From faith to faith and from glory to glory mean that there will be a new revelation from one generation to the next. And the truth that you know today will be worthless tomorrow when the Most High reveal the truth that he is yet to reveal. And so when we start looking at these things for what they really are, because in my mind, I'm saying, wow. And contrary, I'm not concerned about what men say about anything. You see, I've been doing this far longer than a lot of these brothers. When they was running around with snot in their nose, I was still toying with the book. So I don't worry about what some 16-year-old have to say about truth. I know what it is. You can't learn, and your understanding can't be in excel unless you can get to the point to where you understand that the Most High will constantly be revealing truth. The only problem with that is that many people will constantly be rejecting the truth that he's revealing because they think that they have arrived at the grand sum total of the truth that the Most High has. So I tell you another form of truth that busted me down. When I start looking at the doctrine of Yeshua HaMashiach. You start looking at the doctrine of Yeshua HaMashiach, one thing leads to another. Anytime you're looking at something, one thing leads to another. So we start looking at the doctrine of Yeshua HaMashiach, and we said, well, okay, Yeshua was murdered. Okay, why did they hate him that bad? Why did they hate a man so bad to where they just murdered him and then they just had to destroy him? Why? Okay, then we understand that according to everything that we knew thus far as truth, was that he died because he was the sacrifice of mankind. Well, the thing about learning is that you can't learn unless you ponder questions, unless you meditate. I said, well, okay, if he died for the sins of the world, why is the whole world still steeped in committing those same sins? So now we start analyzing the reason, the sins. Well, okay, well, damn. Okay, if he died for the sins of the world and we was murdering, we was robbing, we was stealing, we was conniving, you mean tell me he died for us for all of that, but all of it's still here? Then that means his death is in vain. So that didn't make sense neither. Till we start looking at the one sin that he did die for, that's no longer here. That was the law of sacrifice. Okay, so I'm stuck. I'm stuck now. I'm stuck now. Because for some odd reason, our brothers, our sick brothers with twisted thinking, they think that strategically and specifically, men just go out and start heaping up books that they ain't never seen before just to come back and be a stumbling block to Israel. No, the knowledge gets increased as the Spirit brings you to a place where your knowledge is stagnated, unless he opens up something that can bring you into a greater understanding. This is where your truth that you once knew gets broken down into nothing, and you have to go back to square one. So analyzing the reason why Yeshua HaMashiach came and sacrificed his life, or as they say, sacrifice his life to save men from the sins of the world, that didn't make sense to me. Because after all, why would they still be committing all the sins? They still murdering, they still liars, they still hate each other, they still fornicating, they still committing adultery, they still doing all of these things. But if the Messiah came to die for our sins, why are we still committing the sin? Then that brought me to a brick wall. And so now it's either you can't do nothing unless the Spirit help bring you some understanding. Henceforth came a book that was called the Gospel of the Holy 12. Because in my mind, I'm saying, well, if this is the work of Yeshua HaMashiach, why can't it be found within the framework of this 66 books? If this is the work of Yeshua HaMashiach and his 12 apostles that he handpicked and hand-chosen, why we can't find the fullness of his accounts and the fullness of the thing that he came to do within the framework of the 66? Why do we have all of these other epistles and all of this stuff, but it's not talking about Yeshua HaMashiach? It's talking more about the law that Yeshua HaMashiach came to oppose than anything. Why is it that we can't find these things? And if this is the Holy Bible, and it's supposed to be all about Yeshua HaMashiach, why can't we find, why is it only 20% in red writing in the New Testament, which are the words of HaMashiach, and there's over 80% of epistles of somebody that was never chosen to be an apostle? See, these type of things, these type of questions right here, they come from a pure state of mind, and they rattle the cages of many brothers. But we're not concerned about brothers' cages being rattled. If you want to hold on to that, hold on to it, because everybody ain't going no way. When the Most High bring truth, men gonna have to respond to it. And either they'll respond to it or they'll stay where they at. They can stay where they're at and whine and then become antagonizers or assaulters of other brothers' character because of their failure to move. They can stay. They did the same thing in Yeshua's day. Somebody come and answer me the questions. Why is it that if the New Testament is concerning the life and the doctrine of Yeshua HaMashiach, why can't it be found in there? These are the questions that I personally ask myself as the Spirit is dealing with me about a particular theme. It didn't make sense to me that he chose 12 handpicked apostles and then choose 70 more men. and then open up all of these different entities that the people could be taught, yet you could find no evidences of any of these things ever taking place or any of these things existing. That he put the same spirit that was in him on these 12 men and on these 70 men, and they had the power to go out there into the world and do the same thing and perform the same miracles that he did, but you can't find no evidence of it in the 66. And then you got some joker talking about, well, you shouldn't go outside of the 66. Well, if you don't go outside of the 66, you'll never know nothing about Yeshua HaMashiach. You'll never know nothing about him. So the Most High opened up a book that many brothers declared was, heretical, or, it was not canonized. And so I asked the question, who has the authority to canonize anything? Even the books that you call canonized, they came by way of the heathens, and they gave you what they wanted you to have. Ain't no man got no authority to determine or to put no stamp on what the Most High have done. But the Spirit is what draws lines of distinction between whether a thing is true or whether a thing is not true. We don't pay no attention to what no men are talking about. Well, the book, I got the history on. You ain't got the history on nothing. You ain't got the history on nothing. The only thing that you can do is you can look at a particular piece of material and the Spirit can bear witness of whether it is true or not. We don't listen to what this world has to say about what's canonized, who can declare what belongs to the Most High and who cannot. That's why I said, if you're going to be a teacher of anything, you first yourself must be able. You must be teachable. So when we start looking at the gospel of the Holy 12, we start getting first glimpses of the life of Yeshua HaMashiach. We start getting first glimpses of his character and the type of person he was as an individual. That you can't find anything that was bad about the book, but you can find all type of people trying to discourage people from looking at these other books. Those people I call Satan's agents. Now, I don't care how you feel about that. But any man that try to stop a man from looking at something that might help him when he himself have not looked at it, he himself have not looked at it, he himself have not chewed up the meat and spit out the bone, he himself have not taken a look at it, but he himself go and try to discourage other people from looking at something that might help them. That's somebody that Satan's seeing. Because the Most High don't want his people at the mercy of men no way. His Spirit will give to every man the understanding that he should have. And if you don't want to look at something or listen to it, that's fine. But don't you try to become a discourager of your brethren. You see? Because we don't get the grand sum total of the Most High's truth in no book. Ain't no book on earth can hold the grand sum total or the magnitude or the awesome majesticness of the Most High's mentality or his creation. We get bits and sprinkles. We get breadcrumbs. We get breadcrumbs. So when we open up the gospel of the Holy 12, it's what the Spirit sent to me, because I had never seen no books. I had never seen no books. And what I understand is that everything is now going in reverse. We think we're going forward. If you think that you got the King James Bible and you going forward, you a fool. If you are not going in reverse, then you're going against the wheel. If you're not going in reverse, you're going backwards. But see, the Most High don't do things like men. You going forward, you going backwards in the Most High's eyes. If you're not going reverse, you ain't going in reverse, you're going backwards. Why do I say that? Because going forward was everything that transpired after Adam and Eve fell into sin. Everything that they did after that, what they was going forward into sin and shame. But everything that transpired after the Messiah was murdered to save his people from their sin, the Most High is pulling in reverse. So if you're not going in reverse, you're going wrong. Because reverse is not forward. When you're going in reverse, you're going forward with the Most High. But when you're going forward in your own eyes and your own understanding, you are going in reverse. You're going backwards. You're going like Isaiah 1 said, they have gone altogether backward. You see? So the Most High start pulling us in reverse. And so what we understand, contrary to whether people want to believe it or not, that what's contained in the framework of the 66 books is younger than everything else. The framework of the 66 books is younger than the Apocrypha. I didn't say that the books in the 66 are younger than the Apocrypha. I think the framework of the 66 books are younger than the Apocrypha. What do I mean? That there are some things that were older than the Apocrypha, like maybe the prophet Isaiah, or maybe the book of Genesis. But at the same time, there were some things that were younger, maybe like the letters of Paul, or the epistles of Peter, or they were things, but the framework itself is a combination of things that have been put together. And those things that have been put together are far younger than the one thing that already existed. And this is how we feel about certain other things, because even though brothers try to lay claim or put these their own understanding on the gospel of the Holy 12, they cannot discount and discredit the words and the works that are contained in there. And the evidence of those things make it. And then we even had a brother that said, well, you know, the letters of Paul are older than the epistles of Peter or the Acts. They older. I said, okay, now let's listen. Let's look at how twisted sometimes brothers' mentalities are when they try to understand things based on their information. The Messiah never walked with Paul. Period. Paul was never a chosen apostle. Period. Those that he walked with witnessed a first-hand account. Now, the letters of Paul might be older in the form that somebody had probably written them down, but they can never be older when you're dealing with the things that were written in the mind of the apostles. From the standpoint of what they witnessed. It was what they witnessed that would be transferred onto the paper and then become those epistles. Paul never witnessed nothing. He was able to write and write and write and write and write and write, but you ain't got nobody witness. He ain't even witnessed nothing. So there's no way possible that his letters could be older than them that witnessed the Messiah. Here's what we go here. When you back up, and you get to the gospel of the Holy 12, even though brothers don't want to accept it because they looking at when it was published, there are many artifacts and there are many scrolls that probably wasn't found until the 1900s that was buried way back in the 2nd and 3rd century. There are many scrolls that go for miles and miles and miles that are up underground at the Vatican. You don't know when those things were. Every now and then somebody will leak something and then somebody will publish it and they'll call it a new book or a lost book. But the book ain't lost at all. Actually, the book is a hidden book, and it is hidden for a reason. And it is hidden to them that are lost. If the gospel is hidden, it's hidden to them that are lost. This is go for some of you brothers out there. If the gospels are hidden, they hidden to them that are lost. The Most High ain't going to allow you to receive no new revelation of truth because you're already lost. You ain't never been able to accept the small revelations that he are sending you. And every time he do reveal something, you can't accept it. So why would he reveal anything to them that are lost? That's why we say, as we continue to make these videos, we know what the Spirit gonna do. The Spirit gonna keep on going in reverse. He gonna keep going in reverse and keep going in reverse until we come back to being the pure, genuine, Spirit-filled man that the Most High created on the 6th day when he declared, it is good. It is very good. We're going in reverse. But everybody ain't going in reverse. And so that ones that ain't going in reverse, they going to fall right off. So when we got to the gospel of the Holy 12, I see everything that I thought I knew about Yeshua HaMashiach beginning to crumble again. It began to crumble the same way when I was a Christian. I started coming into Israelite heritage and went on a mission to discredit it or to put it down, and only to find out that at every turn I was the one that was wrong. Many brothers don't want to be challenged because they don't want to be found as being wrong. When you can look at the videos that I've been making from start to finish, it's not contradictory that I say one thing 3 years ago and say something else 5 years later. It's not contradictory. It displays a level of growth and a level of repentance from things that you once thought you knew, opposed to things that you are learning. And it continues on throughout the course of our lives until we meet the Father face to face. It will always be that, because we are going from faith to faith and from glory to glory. So when we started seeing the gospel of the Holy 12, we started understanding with fullness the doctrine of Yeshua HaMashiach. What was his doctrine? What his doctrine? What was it that he came to do? He came to save his people from their sin. So what was his sins that he came to save the people from? What was he murdered for? See, everything that was dealing with his life was entailed, would become what his doctrine was. And so we came to understand through the gospel of the Holy 12, his love for the Father's creation as it related to the animals and to the beasts. We came to understand through the gospel of the Holy 12 that when the Most High created the animals and man on the 6th day, he created them out of the same substance, out of the same breath, out of the same flesh, out of the same blood. They even had the same speech. They were able to communicate with each other. They were able to talk to each other. We came to understand that the beast and man were as brothers and sisters through the eyes of Yeshua HaMashiach. Not through the eyes of men. We came to understand that this was the relationship that they had when the Most High created them and put them in the garden. We came to understand these things. We came to understand that even during Yeshua's day, when men had already failed, how they were against, and how the animals were fearful and frightened, and how the animals would sometimes devour the flesh of men, and how men would devour the flesh of animals. We came to understand how it got like that through looking at the eyes of Yeshua HaMashiach as he dealt with the man that was beating the camel and said, "Willst not you beating that camel? Willst not you know that that is your brother?" When the man responded, "Who are you to say that this camel is my brother? Is not he a beast of burden that is put here to serve us?" Yes, he is a beast that is put here to serve you, even as your children are here to serve you. For you're both created out of the same flesh and blood, and both of you have one breath. We understood the relationship now that the creation had with mankind through the eyes of Yeshua HaMashiach. As we started looking at the gospel of the Holy 12, we had never seen anything of that magnitude thus far contained in the 66 books. As he would see the cat and begin to care for the cat, while the people would say, "Man, he treats this cat as though they his brothers and sisters. Well, it's not that they are thy brothers and thy sisters." They were created out of the same substance. You see, this is as we start to understand the character of Yeshua HaMashiach, as he caused one child to have a withered hand because he would not let the birds go and made fun of having the creatures locked up. When as the mother came to talk to him about why he allowed her child's hand to wither, he explained to her about the creation and how this child had become a mocker and a torturer of the Most High sacred creation. And because he mocked God, he caused his hand to wither up. And when the child had a repentant heart, he straightened his hand back out again. He put things in their proper place as it related to the creation and began to show us what the sin was that he came to save Israel from. And some people say, the only reason why you think the Messiah came into the world is to save the animals? No, not just to save the animals, because in saving the animals from the hands of men, mankind got saved too, because their sin was killing the animals. Now, these are things that we learn as the truth start coming forth. Now, a bulk of our problems come from brothers when we start talking about the eating of flesh and blood. Well, my thing is that I ain't the one that said it. It's if he said, I came to do away with the animal sacrifice and the eating of the flesh and the blood of the creation. And whosoever loves himself and continues to do this, then the wrath of the Most High shall not depart from his house. You can get mad all you want, because I didn't say it. It is another facet of something that is written in the book that the Most High have revealed to us. Now, if I choose to allow myself to operate now by those convictions, and you choose not to, I ain't got nothing to say about you. You can put a garbage can in your mouth if you want to. I ain't got nothing to say about you. But for you to come and put your mouth on me because the Spirit ain't brought you that kind of convictions, you best be very careful, because it could be you that's going against. And when you start looking at nature itself and look at the things that transpire. So, as we quest for truth, we doing a video last week in Colorado, and our young King Jonathan Carter comes on there and said, Elder, while you're doing the video, I turned to this book and it shows right here. Henceforth, he comes with another book that I ain't never heard of. And it was called The Scenes of the Gospel of Peace. I ain't never heard of it in my life, but there we find the recorded words of Yeshua HaMashiach in the early stages of his life. Yet we still got somebody saying, I ain't going outside of the 66 books. Well, you stay right there in the 66 books, because I'm far past the 66 books. Everything that was contained in the 66 books was only there as a means to bring us to the place to where we are now. Those that have had conviction on the meat factor, those that understood what the doctrine of Yeshua HaMashiach was, those that have went through all of those things, you get ready for the next level of learning. And those that have not, let them stay where they are. We don't try to persuade them. We ain't twisting nobody's arm. We ain't talking to nobody about nothing. They can read the book for themselves. They can stay where they at. Say what they want to say. Say what they want to say, because the Bible say that they came from among us, that it might be made manifest that they were not of us. Had they been of us, no doubt they would have continued. The Yeshua HaMashiach was the one that quoted these words. He's the one that quoted these words. Yeah. He's the one that quoted these words. So, you know, there are plenty of people that started off calling him master. They might start off calling you elder. They might start off calling you Kohen. There are plenty of them that start off calling him everything, but they didn't end with him. And we ain't concerned about them that don't end. Everybody ain't going to be able to handle it. You see? Many of the brothers are going to be the other group. They're going to be the other group. Because guess what? You got two groups of people. You got two groups of people. You got two groups that was hand in hand. And then you got three groups that was hand in hand. You got Moses, who spoke about he and the Messiah being connected. In the Nazarene Acts of the Apostles, he said when Moses went in there to get the children of Israel out of Egypt, he said he noticed a vice, a wicked vice that had gripped them. He said because of their association with the Egyptians, that the sacrifice of animals was so deeply ingrained in them that I couldn't get it out of them. He said, so I permitted them to do the animal sacrifice unto the Most High instead of false gods, thereby cutting off one half of their idolatry. He said, leaving the other half of their idolatry to one that would come in the future, a prophet that would be raised up, that would hear his words. See, that's Moses' connection with the Messiah. That's one group of people. Then you got another group of people. You got three. You got the Sadducees, you got the Pharisees, and you got the scribes. You got the Sadducees, who was the elite, the powerhouses of the world, who controlled the Pharisees. The Sadducees controlled the Pharisees, the religious leaders. And the religious leaders, which were the Pharisees, controlled the scribe, who wielded the pen to do things that God didn't say do, to say things that God didn't say, to teach things that God didn't say teach. And then you got Yeshua HaMashiach riding in on the coattail to come and fulfill the other half that Moses had prophesied when the children of Israel first came out of the wilderness. But guess what? Guess what? You see, before Yeshua got here, they had taken what was the seat of authority that was given to Moses and cuffed it within themselves. Now let me show you some more truth that's riding in at the hands of book 2 of the Essene Gospel of Peace as they talk about Moses getting the 10 Commandments. He said the 10 Commandments was too hard for the people to do. He said, so rather than Moses allowing God to destroy the people, he began to beg the Most High that he would let him put other commandments on top of these, that if they didn't go against the Most High, they wouldn't be killed. He said they might not do what you tell them, but let me put another 10 commandments on here that will cause them to be able to do, and they won't go against you. So if they don't go against you, you won't kill them. The Most High declared him to do that. So he break the 2 tablets of stone. And with each of those tablets, produce another 10 commandments. 5 more on one of them, and 5 more on the other. He produced 10 more commandments that will cause the children of Israel not to be slaughtered. So, you know what? That wasn't good enough. Because when the Pharisees and the scribes got a hold to the 10 commandments that turned into 20, they now turned the 20 commandments into 100, which would become what Messiah said: grievous burdens to be bare, that they bind heavy burdens on men's shoulders that were grievous for the people to bear. They would write 100 more of their traditional commandments on there, thereby bringing the children of Israel unto a greater bondage. Moses said, well, we didn't want them killing the animals, so we forget them. We said, thou shalt not kill, and they killed the animals. So we put a commandment on top of that saying, thou shalt not kill mankind. But they turned around and killed the animals and mankind. He said, no matter what commandment we put on there to get the children of Israel not to sin, they continued to sin even worse. And when that power was transferred from Moses' seat of authority into the hands of the Pharisees and the scribes, they did more wicked. And you got brothers talking about that they won't leave the 66 books when you're listening to the words, to the dead words of dead men that can't bring no life. They ain't bringing no life. You're talking about how great and how grand the law is, but you can't separate between what was the law that the Most High gave Moses in the beginning versus the laws that Moses added to what the Most High gave him versus the laws that the Pharisees and the scribes added to the laws that Moses added to the laws that God gave him. You can't draw no lines of distinction between all of that because you are stagnating your own growth. We way on something else different, Tony, right? I hate to leave you back there where you at, Betty, but I got to leave you back there. We ain't got time to keep on walking people by the hand. You either going to move by way of the Spirit or you going to stay where you at. I ain't got time to go back into that again. We talking about learning now. We talking about learning. That's what we talking about. And I understand we going to be brothers to life. But unless we walking on the same square, seeing the same thing, hearing the same word, being exposed to the same level of knowledge, there ain't nowhere in the world that we ever going to have agreement, even though we're brothers. You see, one of the reasons why we ain't going to have no agreement, because anything that's unfamiliar to us, we run from. Well, I don't run from nothing that's unfamiliar. Because I'm convinced, I'm fully convinced in my spirit that the work of the Spirit is what it say it's going to be. He shall lead and guide me into ways of truth. That's why we on here talking. You brothers that's thinking if you think that you're being equipped to be a teacher, you yourself must first show yourself as teachable. And there are many more things. And as we start looking, and I tell you, I ain't never seen some of this stuff in all my life, but I'm come to a place where I don't discredit nothing until I put my head in there and put my face in it. That's why I told brothers that they think what Isaiah was talking about when they said precept must be upon precept, line must be upon line, here a little and there a little. How you think that you using precept upon precept when you ain't never left the 66 books? How you think you gonna use precept upon precept when the Bible is only one account? How you think you using precept upon precept when you can't go into a wicked world that you living in and find some substantiation for the truth outside of the framework of the book that you are reading? How you gonna say precept must be upon precept when a lot of people in the world don't even believe what's contained in your book? You got to be able to go into Hinduism and pull out the precept. You got to be able to go into Islam and pull out the precept. You got to be able to go in the fiction part of the library to pull out the precept to make what thing it is that you're saying true. And you think that your precept upon precept is supposed to come out of one book, which is called the Bible. Nah. When it's quite naturally that if you got 10 people that's walking together that's in agreement with each other, all of them gonna say the same thing. So 9 out of 10 times we don't want to hear from the 10 people, oh, y'all running buddies, y'all running mates, y'all gonna stick up for each other, y'all gonna say the thing. But you want me to believe, go down there and find somebody that you ain't never seen before that's gonna come back and say the same thing. That's what we talking about. So in the days to come, I'm gonna tell my brothers and sisters like this. Contrary to whatever you believe, I don't knock that. I'm only speaking for the brothers and sisters that have been following this page and following the things that the Most High have been doing for me. You see? And I'm trying to follow in the footsteps of Yahshua HaMashiach. Whatever I see him do, that's what I'm going to do. And then once again, if I see the scriptures telling that he and John the Baptist would eat no flesh nor drink no strong drink from the time of their birth until the time of their death, that exposes me to an example of what it is that I'm supposed to walk. If I see it, I don't care where it's contained at. If I see it in the mouth of Yahshua HaMashiach, where it's declared that the God didn't make the animals to be eaten, it don't make me no difference what nobody else said. You got the right to do whatever you want to do. But as for me, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And for those that feel the same way that I feel, those are the ones that the Father have connected to me. Those that don't feel the same way, those are the ones that the Father have not connected, have not given an agreement in the Spirit. They will not be able to continue to walk alongside because it's going to intensify. If you think that the not eating flesh and blood was something that was going to challenge you to the nth degree, you ain't seen nothing yet. But chances are you won't see it because the Most High don't mean for you to be walking. He only means for those that see the same thing and have the same agreement in the Spirit. And those that don't, well, they have to get in where they fit in, and they have to get with their own kind, lest they become stumbling blocks as we make the videos. If it's things that you don't agree with, then you have to make your own videos and keep up your own group of people that have common ground. But at this hour, you must leave those. And if you feel like if you feel like by chance, well, I think that brother's out there deceiving people. Well, don't you get in the Father's way. Because if it was the Father's will for me to be the deceiver in the earth at this time, then let his will be done. You can't stop it no way. Many in the last days shall come saying, I am the Christ. and shall deceive many people. They shall teach things I didn't say. They shall teach men to do things I didn't teach. They shall have them walking in places that I didn't walk. And they shall deceive many. And if the Most High said that this thing was going to happen, you or ain't no other devil in hell can stop it from happening. I'm just simply saying that if those couldn't accept the small challenges that have been laid out there, if you couldn't deny your appetite, if you couldn't go back in there and find out what the Father said was good, that he'll never change, if you can't accept that small challenge, you definitely won't be able to handle what's coming next. I guarantee you. You definitely won't be able to handle what's coming next. So, rather than to be one to become a stumbling block to other brothers and sisters, or one that will become somebody that intentionally or deliberately becomes slanderous to your brother, it's best to just fall away now, that it might be made manifest. You were there for a season and for a time. So, that's what it is. So there are some greater things that's coming. And I see now is that we read in Josephus that this other group, when the Messiah came, you have to understand when the Messiah came, it was the Pharisees and it was the scribes that murdered him. That's who it is. It was the Pharisees and the scribes that murdered him. They were responsible for his murder. The Sadducees stood behind the scene, and I would like to believe at the end of the day, it was really all about the Sadducees, because they were the ones that were instructing the others to do things. But now, if the Pharisees and the scribes were the ones that were responsible for murdering the people, that by itself shows you that there was another group of people that had rose up in the earth that were walking contrary to many of the things that the Pharisees and the scribes had done. Yet y'all still want to make Yeshua HaMashiach be like he was running buddies to the ones that killed him. When if the Pharisees and the scribes killed him, it's showing you right off the bat it was something wrong with the law that they was giving to the people. It tells you that right off the bat. And people keep wanting to go in there and do these things, but that's on the people, you know. That's on the people. If you don't use your common sense, that's on you. So the spotlight would be on Yeshua HaMashiach and the army of men that he had raised up with him. Why do I say army? Because first of all, he handpicked 12 apostles. All right? And then, second of all, he chose 70 men, just like the pattern with Moses. He chose 70 men. And then he told fourfold ministry. What Christianity tried to call through the letters of Paul a fivefold ministry. It was really a fourfold ministry. And he had all of those men that he had done things with. And here's the important thing. He did not put his words on them. He put his spirit on them. So these men were not moving according to the things that were written in those scrolls, that the common people didn't have access to the scrolls no way. Only the Pharisees had access and the scribes had access to the scrolls, but Yeshua HaMashiach put his spirit on them. And so they weren't moving by nothing that was written in no book. And that's what we're saying to some of you brothers right now. You're trying to build your life around dead words of dead men when the Father is not moving like that. Ain't nothing that you can incorporate in your life coming from your forefathers gonna be no benefit to you. It's only that spirit. When that spirit get on you, that spirit of life that was in Hamashiach, that is what we look into. You keep on trying to live by the words of dead men and watch what happens. You keep on. You keep on. And just like my elders was telling me over a year ago, He said, Elder, the Bible is a guide. It never was meant to replace your mentality or your common sense, and it never was meant to produce those same acts in this world. In this world, the Most High wants you to have your own brain, your own common sense, your own ability to do things, your own acts. Somebody need to be writing about the acts of the men of the Most High in 2020. How you gonna write about the acts of the men of the Most High in 2020 when all the men in 2020 are trying to reproduce the acts of a dead man? It's wicked. It is. But thing is going from faith to faith and glory to glory. And I just wanted to come on here and say that anyway, because this is the hour. I'm not arguing with nobody. And I'm asking brothers kindly. If it's something that you disagree with, go in your closet and pray. Go in your closet and pray and ask the Most High for either the grace to not be deceived and walk away, or ask the Most High for the grace to understand and comprehend what's being said. Because all that arguing stuff and trying to be noticed on somebody else's program, that ain't gonna work. That ain't gonna work. That ain't gonna work. We can't operate like that. You see? I don't want to be praying that the Most High destroy nobody. But that's what our father David prayed. That's why our father David prayed. He didn't just pray for his enemies, that the Most High would bless them to see what he see. He would pray to the Father concerning his enemies, that he would break the teeth out of their mouth, that he would, cut them off at the legs. And he would pray things like that against his enemies, where his enemies was concerned. But in these days, we got to prepare ourselves, because the Most High is going to be taking us from faith to faith and from glory to glory, and there's going to be some levels of truth involved. And I'm reminded by something that Elder Pat said. Elder Patrick Henry had said. He said on one of the videos, he came in and he said, Elder Dimitri, he said, I don't know where you are getting your information from. He said, but it is right on point. Now, this was something, because if Elder Pat had never been exposed to the words that I was teaching from the Bible, yet identified with him to the point to where he commended me on where it came from, then that show you everything that you learning is not going to be in no book. Now, we understand that everybody can't receive this, because they have taken so much pride in their books. And then have the nerve enough to talk about what's canonized. Well, when you look at the Basara, who brought it into print? When you look at Strong's Concordance, who brought it into print? When you look at your pseudographs, who brought them into print? When you look at all of these different books that everybody is using, the Seepers and all of that, who brought them into print? It's the same heathens. You're just double-minded in your approach. On one end, you'll say this, and then when it comes to something that you use on the other end, you'll justify that. But I just don't bother brothers about it, because if I see double-mindedness in you, I'm not going to be telling you that you double-minded. I'm not going to do that. I'll pray to the Most High that he'll just bless you. You know what I'm saying? That he'll bless you to see. Why am I going to fall out with my brother who can't receive no type of chastisement or correction? Why am I going to do that? You see? And if the Spirit is genuinely with me, then the Spirit shows me who is able to receive the correction and who is able to, receive that reproof. So why am I going to do that? So in the days to come, to the brothers and sisters, those, and I want to see if we got any brothers and sisters that's on here that have identified with the doctrine of Hamashiach, where no flesh and blood is concerned, put a 7 up in there. Because I know you're experiencing some good thing in your body. Your mind is sharp. And there are many things that we're going to add on top of this that's going to bust the bubble of many of our brothers that have went against the grain of what we saying now. It's going to bust their poor little bubble as these other things start getting released. So, well, and the only way they're going to be able to get around it is to just flat out reject it. That's it. It's just flat out reject it. And that's gonna be a display of pride before the rest of the brothers and sisters. For the rest of the brothers and sisters, it's gonna be a display of pride. You ain't even attempted to do it. You ain't even tried to do it. You ain't even heard what the words are saying. You ain't even tried. Because see, but you had the nerve enough to open up your mouth on it. Them brothers and sisters, be encouraged. Be encouraged, all you brothers and sisters, because y'all the one that the Most High is about to move to the next level of learning. And we got it just the same way everybody couldn't walk with the Messiah when the Messiah was on the earth. Let's walk in the footsteps of Yeshua HaMashiach. We ain't walking in no letters and no Paul. We ain't walking in none of that. We ain't walking in what the enemies of this kingdom have given us. We ain't walking in that. We're going to walk in what they hid from us, that the Most High declared would be revealed in the last days. All praises to the Most High Heavenly Father and His glorious Son on this day. Thanks for His Ruach HaKodesh. Yep. Yep. So to my brothers that's trying to teach something, if you're going to be a teacher, you first must show yourself teachable. There are many things that can come in your direction that will challenge you. You know, one of the greatest challenges that I had, and keep this in mind, I'm in church, I'm a teacher, I'm a Sunday school teacher and all of that, is that old man that was on the Hebrew or so-called Negro. When he said, his name is not and never was Jesus. And then he began to break it down. He said, the word Jesus comes from the word Jesus, which means a Greek deity. He said his name was Yeshua HaMashiach. Man, that crumbled everything that was up under me. But in order for me to be classified as a teacher, what was said was now challenging what was known. And if I was going to be anybody's teacher, I had to know what truth was. So I came after that old man. I said, this cannot be real. To what extent it was so shaken, because there was a part of me that was saying, man, what if this is true? Where does that leave me? And this is what a lot of brothers feel like. You feel like, what if this is true? Where does this leave me? I got to go back to square one. Yeah, you do. But that's what makes you a person that could be apt to teach. It's because you're not afraid to go back to square one. You're not afraid to be wrong. Because it's in your being wrong that new truth and new learning is equipped. And it's with that new truth and that new learning that you are now able to go back and raise your brothers and sisters up. But some brothers say, I don't want to take the chance on being wrong. This is how many of our Christian brothers, our Christian pastors and things, they fit into this category. They in too deep to be found to be wrong. So they won't take the chance. But if you're going to be a teacher, you got to take the chance on being wrong. Not only do you got to take the chance on being wrong, you got to be able to acknowledge it before the people that you have been teaching. And every turn I went, I found out that I was wrong. Man, when that man said the letter J is the last letter of the English alphabet, and it came into existence as a Galitos. A Galitos, a scribe, was fiddling with the I and put the hook on the end of the I and came up with the letter J. And man, I said, what? One of the first things I did is I started backing up for Galileos. And there it was, a Jewish scholar by the name of Galileos. Start talking about the letter J, the last letter of the alphabet, how it came into existence. And that was one time, it sent shockwaves through me. Because he said, if the letter J is only 500 years old and the Messiah lived over 2,000 years old, then what? And then I had to understood that, because I already understood the letter J and the Isus factor because of my old Bible. Because when you get Bibles old like that, they are produced before the English language. And so they are produced according to the language that's already on them. So a lot of them old Bibles don't have James and John. It's Imes and Jan and stuff like that. And I was like, man, but that truth was killing me. It was shocking the life out of me. And it sent me to a place of confusion. And when I began to pray, the Most High made me understand, you don't have to worry that you've been calling them by the wrong name. I know your spirit, and I am the one that have brought you to truth. You see, that was the greatest wrestling. How am I going to get away from the name when I've been getting all my prayers answered in this name? He said, I know the spirit that is in you. And it is the spirit that I sent into the world that have brought you to the place of truth and revelation. He said, so I know. But it blew me away, man. And everywhere I turned, I found out that I was wrong. And when I found out that I was wrong, I eventually had to get up and go back to church and tell the brothers that I was wrong, that I led them wrong. And then I began to start teaching them and showing them what the Messiah has shown me. And that is where everything crumbled in church. Because now you're going against the grain. For me to stand there and confess to people that I was wrong and the things that I was teaching was to automatically go against the establishment. And that was the level of suffering that began to come as a result of service to Yeshua HaMashiach. And so I know what it's like when we serve Hamashiach. This is the result that it continued to repeat itself. That things will continue to crumble. With every group of people and every group of brothers that you connect yourself with or connect themselves to you while teaching, it's going to produce a crumbling. Once you go so far and you get the new revelations of truth, they will not be able to digest it and they will fall by the wayside. They won't be able to handle the challenges or none of that. But if those that genuinely seeking to serve the will of the Most High, then they're going to go where the Most High go. They don't dare to leave everything and forsake everything in this world to leave him. So it's not enough to know that you're Israel. You see, because you had three classes of people that was on the scene. Pharisees, the scribes, the Sadducees, who were governing, the governing body over the children of Israel. Then you had Yeshua HaMashiach and the army of men that he had raised up to oppose them. Many of the people remained up under the authority of the Pharisees, and the scribes even sided with them as they cried, crucify them. And many that opposed them, that were with the Messiah, gave their lives up as they crucified the Messiah and then began to murder the men that had chose to follow him. Well, if they done that to him, what do you think they're going to do to you? You think you're going to be able to be in this world somebody that's pleasing? Somebody that's pleasing to you? Just because they start off calling you elder don't mean that that's what you're going to be. You might end up being something far worse than that. You might be the one that everybody turn on, that decides to assassinate your character or kill your influence. You might be that one, because if they did it to the one that you're following, they're going to do it to you too. There ain't no in-between ground. But the same way that the Messiah had men with him that had his spirit on them, that understood what he understood, that walked where he walked, that seen what he seen, and they had the spirit to die for what they believed in. Same way they did it for the Messiah, he'll do it for you too. If your ministry is authentic and your teaching is genuine and your heart is pure, then the Most High will connect brothers and sisters to you that are like-minded. And you won't have to die alone. So, all praises to the Most High, Heavenly Father. In the days to come, we are going forth. So, I'm going to encourage brothers and sisters that we're about to open up